أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي.
The first question that some people might say is that you people seem to be approaching the Quran in a way that is really different from the so-called high criticism of the Bible. And the problem is really a problem of perception. You see, if you happen to have been a Western scholar belonging to Judaism or Christianity, and when the high criticism began, 18th, 19th century, continued ever since, to verify the authenticity of the Bible, the only way that anything of the Bible, Hebrew Scripture or New Testament, could be verified was nothing but manuscript, something in writing. Not even original, in the original language, because there is no complete copy of the Gospels, for example, in the Aramaic, the language in which Jesus spoke. These are translations. We don't know even what the originals were. So biblical scholars, if they say we want to make an objective research, they had absolutely nothing to stand upon except what can be proven mainly in manuscripts. So they go back and say, all right, what are the oldest manuscripts of the Bible available in museums? What archaeological discoveries might confirm or disconfirm? And the debate continues. I think some of you might have seen in recent issues in the Time magazine and others in the last few years, discoveries that negate things or confirm things, because there is no other way of verification. But it is rather curious that a lot of Western scholars and Orientalists who are critics of Islam and critics of the Quran want to impose the exact same methodology on the verification of the Quran in the name of objectivity and free historical scientific research. If, like I said earlier, if all the copies of the Quran were burned down, the Quran would have remained. The Quran would have remained exclusively through memory. In fact, I must add one point that some might not be aware of. Do you know even what kind of script was used in recording the Quran at the time of the Prophet ﷺ? Those scripts did not have dots. And you know the dots are very important. If you have just something like this, you wouldn't know whether that is ba if you have a dot underneath, or ta if you have two dots on top, or tha if you have three, or if you have one dot, it could be noon. You get my point? Number one, there were no system of dots to distinguish letters. Secondly, there was nothing which is called diacritical remarks. You know, sometimes you get marks on the Quran, like this is fatha, kasra, hamza, shadda, in the various ways which would make a difference in utterance. But what I'm saying here, that the Western scholars try to project something which is suitable only for their scriptures and require that that must be done also in the case of the Quran. Whereas, like I say, even if somebody tell you, okay, I can produce, this is impossible, but suppose somebody, I can produce you the entire Quran that was written at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it would have not been enough to preserve it. Because you don't know how to pronounce it. B, ba, ta, tha, jim, ha, kha, also is contingent on the dots. What preserved the Quran, what is unique into it, is memorization. And it's only through memorization and through the early people who were really fit, that was their language, that was their bread and butter, that you know exactly how the ayah should be recited. But in addition to this, we must say that even if you come to the notion of memorization, which some people find it impossible, how could you depend on memory of people to preserve over 6,200 ayahs in the Quran? We notice, first of all, number one, that while writing was known among Arabs, and after Islam and the writing of the Quran, of course, it became more widespread than before. While writing was known, the majority of Arabs depended on memory before Islam even, to memorize or preserve their lineage, they depended on memory. History, they depended on memory. Poetry. There's one story, whether it's correct or exaggerated, but it's quite revealing of the strange ability of people to memorize. It says that someone went to his friend, he was a poet, and he told him, look, I got a brand new long poem of 100 verses. Of course, that's a great deal of source of pride for you. So he said, all right, recite it to me. So he started going on through the 100 verses. And the man, his friend, said, oh, you're telling me this is new? He said, yes, I just finished it. He said, no, it's not new. I heard it before. He said, I challenge you. So he went reciting the exact 100 verses as they are. He said, no, it's not new. He said, I can't believe it. He said, no, it's so common. He called his wife behind the curtain and he said, did you hear about the poem about such and such? He said, yes. He said, what does it say? And she went exactly through the 100 verses. The man got mad. He said, oh, I can get you. My servant. He heard it by now 3 times, and he recited all of them. Of course, like I said, regardless of authenticity of the story, but it at least carries some essence of the amazing ability of the early Arab. Of course, their obsession with poems and beautiful expression. And when the Qur'an came to challenge all that eloquence, obviously it really captured their attention very immensely.